All right, Gas and Go Nation, we're thrilled to bring in our special guest for this week's episode, driver of the 00 StarCom Racing Chevrolet Camaro, Mr. Quin Houff, joins us in the Zoom house. Quin, I got to start with a pronunciation question. Did A, I get your last name right, and B, what's the strangest pronunciation you've ever had of your last name?
Well, yeah, I think you did get it right. It's Houff. You can't get anything too strange. I mean, it's Huff, most of the time. But I always just tell people it's like house with F's. You don't say Huss, you say house.
All
So
right.
it's the OU. So it's Houff, Houff.
Well, as you know, and as you know, we know, but maybe our listeners don't know, in Virginia, we sort of like to pronounce things like completely opposite from how they're spelled. So, I mean, like you're from Weir's Cave, and if somebody looks that up, they'd be like, that's not how I thought Weir's Cave was going to be spelled. But
Yeah.
all right, well, Quin, we appreciate you joining us today. We'll get a little bit more serious here. You just completed your first full season in the NASCAR Cup Series. Just sort of, how are you feeling overall? I mean, I know Phoenix was probably a tough way to end it for you, but what are your just sort of, immediate afterthoughts of the full season coming to a close?
Yeah, Phoenix was definitely a bummer. Not the way we wanted to end the season. We know we're better than that, and we've made a lot of great gains all year. But as far as completing my first rookie season, it's just kind of like you just want to sit back and say, "Wow!" Like I knew this was going to be a challenge heading in. Right? I'm a really, really green rookie with the newer race team, smaller race team. We had a lot of different pieces added in, including me, crew chiefs and different motor program, different personnel on the team. We knew the challenge coming in, and then COVID hits. And then it's like all that experience for me got cut with no practice, no qualifying. And that really put the ball in my guys' court back at the shop, because now we're taking race cars to the track, and you're racing what you brought, you got what you got. So, it was a very, very challenging thing for a small team, and especially, like I said, a rookie like me with the experience I needed to gain and the knowledge I needed to know how to help them bring cars better to the racetrack. But we steadily improved, I felt like, throughout the whole year. We got the cars better every week coming off the truck. Had a couple of strong runs there near the end of the season. Obviously survived a crazy one at Talladega. I was hoping for a top 10, but had to sneak out of a wreck off turn 4 and came out 13th. There's not much to complain about. I would have never dreamed that I would run very well at Indy my first time. I had a really good run there. Probably would have been better if I had known at the beginning of the race what I did at the end. See, that was the biggest thing. Like the second half of the season, it was just nice to go back to these places and say, here's where we were race 1 in the spring, and here's where we are in the fall, and we can look at all the gains and still look at the cons, whether we didn't get any, we always got better, but where could we still continue to get better? So it's been really fun to work with the team on that all year. And we built our notebook up and we kind of geared up for that, because now we're not going to the next gen car. We're going to be back in these cars. So that's going to be, it's going to be okay for us. We got plenty of equipment and got notes for it now. So it won't be a whole nother season next year of unknowns again, hopefully. We got some of these new road courses coming up, but I was used to going to new tracks anyways, so I did that all this year, so that won't be anything new for me. So I mean, it's just a privilege to be able to say I've run a full Cup Series schedule, and hats off to NASCAR and everyone that was involved in getting us back going and being one of the only sports that finished on time with a full season. So a lot of hard work went into that. A lot of racing really fast went into that twice a week, coming back. So that was good for me, honestly, was some of those races back to back, Darlingtons and Charlottes, that helped me a lot getting back out of the COVID break and into the rest of the season. So like I said, just wow. I mean, you would have never guessed this season went the way it did.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned this, and I sort of have one of these questions prepared, but you did a good job answering already, but I'll try to dig in a little bit more. So, I mean, besides the obvious of COVID and the loss of practice and qualifying time for you, I mean, that obviously probably was a negative impact on you. Were you trying to fill that time in the sim or iRacing or anything and trying to get those laps that you would have normally gotten through practice or qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, I had a great partner come on board at what couldn't have been a better time with Sim Seats out of
Yeah.
Richmond, Virginia.
Yep.
I got a partnership with them. See, I was never an iRacer or sim racer,
Okay.
if you will, before this. I was always kind of the guy that was like, I can't feel in the seat what I see on the computer screen. Like, why am I spinning out or why am I hitting the wall? Like, I can't feel it. I can't.
Yeah.
So SimSeats has a variety of lines. I went down there and visited with them. They actually got me hooked up with a motion rig so I can feel like the bumps and the bankings and why things are happening. And it actually worked out weird to where mine got built and delivered 2 weeks after the COVID break started. So it was like perfect. I had like all the COVID to practice, like getting used to iRacing and getting used to the simulator.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know going back into racing at the time that we weren't going to have practice, but man, that thing helped a lot. Like you said, just some of these tracks I've never been to, like Indy, for example. I hadn't even seen the place in person before. When I drove into the tunnel to race there, it's the first time I saw it. When I walked out on the pit road, that's the first time I saw the racing surface, and the first time I took the corner was under green flag conditions. So using racing, the SimSeats racing simulators and iRacing at least did a lot for me just visually, knowing what to expect and just feeling like I've been there before. And it really did do that. It helped me a lot. And I've met a lot of great friends on there that have helped me a lot, that know a lot more about iRacing than I do. And then just all the data, the film, like you just
Yeah.
had to put a lot more work in at home and do as much as you could, especially as a rookie, to be as mostly prepared as you could going into those deals.
Yeah. And so for someone who's never been behind the wheel of a NASCAR Cup Series car, myself, obviously, can you explain how the simulator in iRacing, like how close is that? I mean, besides the actual, feeling of being in a car, does it give you enough to where you could hop in a car and be like, this isn't completely foreign?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's mostly like the visual aspect of it.
Okay.
I don't really know that necessarily running the car is the bigger thing. Like you could jump on iRacing and run a truck or an
Yeah.
expanded car, and you just get that visual aspect of the Roval or of the Daytona Road Course, which was everyone was doing that. Like I had been doing that for every track, but now everyone was doing it with
Right.
me. But yeah, it's just like a big visual thing. Now, it's not like you can take anybody that hasn't been in a race car before and put them in a cup car after they ran iRacing on a track and expect them to go fast, right? I mean, there's a lot of things, physically and mentally that happen in real life that you can just hit reset on iRacing. So, um,
Yeah.
but as a driver myself, knowing what I can differentiate between real life and sim life, if you will, I can kind of find that line. Like I'll get on there with the guys that help me get going on there, and like it gets really really fast. It gets unrealistic. Like in order to go fast, I feel like in iRacing you have to break reality, and and then I have to be like, whoa, hold on. Like I'm trying to actually practice for real life. So let's like basically let's make this thing drive worse, like so that I don't go somewhere and be like, oh well, I should be able to drive this deep and be able
Yeah.
to make the corner, or I should be able to get to the gas this fast. But no, like I said, it's hard to say. Like a lot of people are on either side of the fence of how realistic it is or
Yeah.
how realistic it's not. But the biggest thing that's iRacing has knocked a home run with is the visual parts. I mean, you really do when you get out there, even if you're driving a street car, be like, yep, I know that there's a mark there, or there's a line there, there's a bump here.
That's cool. Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool to see that how that relates.
Yeah, that is cool. So the other question I wanted to ask about how COVID impact was a little bit different from just the time on the track, but I'm sure going into your rookie season, one of the things that was important to you was establishing relationships with your fellow competitors and peers in the Cup Series. And without, driver intros and time in the garage, did that affect how you were able to just build relationships with your other drivers just because you're not around them as much? Or did you find that guys were still able to sort of talk once you got to the track and you were able to mingle a little bit? Or was it just a loss there too?
No, I definitely think it was a loss. I mean, obviously, like in the garage when you're racing or practicing Thursday and Friday, qualifying Saturday, there's a lot more time to rub elbows with people or talk to different people
Yeah.
or meet different people, and that aspect was definitely gone. Obviously, with the quarantine with the drivers, the 1 day shows, there wasn't much time. And when you're on the grid for race day, it's not really a social time. There's a task at hand, a job at hand, and stuff to accomplish. So that definitely hindered that portion of it. Unfortunately, there's guys back there that I raced around that I became pretty good friends with, and some guys a little bit farther ahead of me that had been where I am, and gave me a lot of good information, a couple different things. But yeah, it was really tough. I mean, coming in as a rookie and newer to the scene, and feeling like you're not really, I don't want to say not welcome, but you just don't really know anybody.
Right.
And then COVID kind of hindered that to make it to where you felt even more alone. And then on top of that, you can't bring anybody to the track with you. So yeah, it was a very tough mentally season, both on and off the track. Fortunately, I had a few instances where some guys reached out and helped me. It might not have been in the nicest manner, but they reached out and they helped me regardless of what they think they did.
Yeah.
And that means more to me than them just standing around, bitching about whatever's going on. So I can only do better if I know how to get better.
Yeah.
So I was really a sponge all year on and off the track. My first season in the Cup Series, and took in all I could. And I think that experience showed, especially towards the end of the season, and I'll be that much more confident with all the experiences I had this year going into 2021.
Yeah. So, and you sort of mentioned this a little bit there in your answer, but I mean, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. I'm not trying to put you in the hot corner, but I think you, like every driver in Cup Series, had some incidences this year where, there might have been some difference of opinion, or people were mad at you or you were mad at them. Did those pre-established relationships, I mean, I assume the answer is yes, but does that help rectify that? Like, you said you got some calls out of the blue this year. Was a lot of more picking up the phone this year than maybe rubbing into somebody in the garage to say, hey, look, we had some issues last race. Let's sort of squash it. How can we work together? Did you find it harder to do that this year?
I mean, not really. The Cup Series is pretty unique. The way I came up racing, it was all, it was competitors on the track, but it was almost like you were friends off the track. And the Cup Series is different because it's everyone's job. I mean, everyone's out there making a living doing this, so there's not many friendships or stories, which I don't have a problem with that at all. But it's just kind of double-sided sometimes when they're on the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, we're all human. We're all professionals, but we're all human, and we all make mistakes. And obviously, as a rookie, I definitely made mistakes. And after every one of those mistakes, I admitted it. And I'm pretty sure after all those mistakes, I didn't do it again. And I know I'm not the first person to make those mistakes. I know I won't be the last. It's just part of the growing pain, especially with what I was put through this year. I mean, you can't even compare a rookie class, what we were put through, to any other season. Like, there's just been nothing like it. And that was the toughest part, was some of the guys that were kind of trying to reach out and help and keep me upbeat. Is just like, they're all, I've been there and done this. You just got to keep your head up. And it's like, I appreciated it, but it was like, you really haven't been here. Like, this has not happened before. So it was tough, but the relationship sides of it was different to get used to. But luckily I had good people in my corner, and I believe in what I can do, and I have a team that believes in what I can do, and we kept plugging along at our goals.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put you a little bit more on the spot here, but one of the incidents that was definitely of interest to us, and you weren't aware of this at all, so we're not like trying to put you more on the spot, but we were actually the sponsor of the deck lid of Joey Gase's 51 car in Martinsville. And so Joey, I think Joey thought you might have unnecessarily spun him out at one point. And so I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on there. I mean, for us, it was sort of two-sided. One, we hated to see our car spun out, but two, it definitely gave us some more TV time. So we were sort of, balancing that line of, well, okay, but were you able to talk to Joey after that? I mean, do you and Joey are you guys friends? Do you talk off the track? And how did anything come up after that?
No, I haven't really talked with Joey a whole lot. I don't know him very well. Obviously, we've run around each other a little bit this year, and I'm sure he's had a frustrating year. And at Martinsville, I mean, you're at a short track like that, and we honestly weren't having that great a day. And every time there at the end, I mean, at that point in the race, it was just about me trying to help the team get the car better that early in the race. And if somebody caught me, I let him go. And with the short track racing deal, and he comes up to me, and I see him coming, and I've let everyone else go that caught me, and he immediately goes to my bumper. Well, I get short track racing, but short track racing, if you get to somebody's bumper and you get around them, you better expect something back. So he got around me, and I kind of gave him the same shot I felt like he gave me in 3 and 4, and he spun out. So it wasn't like I dumped him going in the corner. I didn't dump him coming off the corner. I squared up to him in the center of the corner just to be like, hey, this is what you gave me, I'm giving you. And I didn't really appreciate it or think it was needed. I had no intentions of wrecking him. Thankfully, he spun out, lazily and didn't hit nothing. Yeah, and I gave him the respect after that, just to any time to get by me. I didn't mean to spin him out, and thankfully it didn't hurt anybody's day overall. I mean, everybody finished where we were going to finish, and he said some choice words about it, so I didn't feel the need to reach out to him. And if he wanted to come talk to me, he could have, but he didn't. We just went about our own ways.
There you go. Well, the deck lid still look good after it, so we're good. We'll forgive and forget.
At least that positive came out of it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to 2021. What's next for the 00 car and you? I mean, how do you guys show improvement and become more competitive? And will that come with more time at the track? I know NASCAR put up the schedule and it's going to be more limited again. I'm sure that you guys were a little bit disappointed there, but what is next for you guys in next year? Is it, I mean, you were, I think, 33rd in driver points, 35th in owner points this year. Is it top 30? Like, what's that next step?
Yeah, coming in into this season, obviously, like you said, the expectations were knowing that they were going to be tough, and then COVID even made it tougher. So next year is, just out the gate, like if we could restart this year, I know we would be better. Just the experience that I gained, the experience that the team gained with me, having that notebook to go back to these racetracks in 2021, that's going to be a big stride, I think, right out the gate. And then on top of that, StarCom's really invested in getting better. We're doing things at the shop. We got more equipment at the shop to help with procedures, pull down rigs or lifts or just things, easy things that make things just more in-house, easier for the guys to do. That way we can spend as much time looking for speed. We started to implement some of the newer style bodies. I'm sure you guys know Chevrolet switched bodies this year, and we didn't quite have all the new bodies at all. And we're starting to implement the new style bodies, which has seemed to be a little bit of an advantage in the aero side of things. So we started to dabble in that some here at the end of the season, ran a couple of those bodies at 1.5 miles and short tracks. So just things like that, and they all add up. So, and I know we're going to have plenty of meetings this offseason. Nobody's going to lay down. We're going to look at everything we can and prepare the cars the best we can. And the other side of that is you said we've had some incidents, but we really haven't had that many. And our shop was already starting to work on 2021 before 2020 season was over. So we're already ahead of the game. We got a lot of our super speedway cars that, they'll be ready in the next couple of weeks, and we can go ahead and move on to the West Coast Swing cars. And that Phoenix car came back, unscathed. Thankfully, we got to figure out what the heck was going on with it. It seemed to have a little bit of an issue, and but that car will be ready to go for Phoenix again. So, we're looking 4 or 5 weeks into the 2021 season already, and that's really big for a small team to not have to go back and just rebuild cars to have a car to take. Now we can sit here and scrutinize these cars and find speed. Yeah,
that's cool. So were you, you mentioned you guys were already started prepping 2021 cars. Were you guys in the mindset that the next gen car was coming? And do you think the next gen car is going to make a difference in competition for teams like, smaller teams like yourself? Is that something that you guys are really looking forward to, or is it just sort of, we'll get there when we get there?
No, obviously we knew the next gen thing was kind of cut off of the platform for 2021. Right when we came back from the COVID break, NASCAR made that announcement. So we shifted our focus right there to where we could build with what we got, because we know we're going to run it again. Yeah. I definitely think the next gen car is going to be a good direction for the sport. And I look forward to being a part of that transition. It's going to make competition a little more equal, I feel. Parts will come from a lot of the same places, instead of some of these places being, Joe Gibbs has their own cars, Storthaus has their own cars. All these cars are going to be bought from the same places, the clips and everything. There'll be limited options, and every team can pick from those options. There's going to be a lot more stock, if you will, back into stock car racing. However, the big teams will still have, the bigger budgets, the bigger development programs. Yeah. So I don't really think You're going to see a lot of difference in the finishing orders, if you will. The gaps for a while just might not be as big.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be a lot different. They've already started testing these cars, at the tracks, and some of these drivers are, they Auto Club Speedway, William Byron jumped from, the car we run now at Auto Club on Sunday to the next gen car test on Monday, and he couldn't do what he did on Sunday on Monday and actually ended up wrecking the thing. So it's definitely a lot different of a car, and it's going to take a lot of learning for all the drivers as well. So that'll be entertaining as well, just to see what driver can figure this thing out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that about Byron, and certainly makes you wonder about how much of an adjustment folks are going to have to make. I mean, have you done any testing or simulator stuff on the next gen car? Is that just sort of further down the line?
No, they haven't. That hasn't come down as far as our line. That's what I was saying already. These bigger teams already are getting the opportunity to actually test this next gen car with NASCAR as they develop it. And I'm sure they're simulating it already. And those are all things already that the GAP's already going to be, building. Teams like StarCom, we don't have that access, obviously. So I know once we get our hands on a car, we'll be, as aggressive as we can with it. And I'm sure, I'm hoping there will be some tests this next season for everybody to come to a track and test these cars on track and see how they do in air with other cars.
Cool. All right, Quinn, when you're in a job interview, everyone always asks, like, oh, what do you see yourself in 5 years? Some ask you, is Quin Houff in the 00 car winning races in 5 years?
It's a hard question, because it's like, this has always been the dream, right? This is like every driver's dream, is to be in a Cup Series full time, and it's kind of unbelievable that you make it here. And now it's just about establishing yourself and establishing the team and proving ourselves. So it's really hard to see that far, because I've already feel like I've made it farther than the majority of race car drivers actually expect to make it.
Yeah.
So I'm just making the most of now and what we can do now to prove, who I am as a driver and my abilities, and the team and what their abilities are. So that's what I'm most focused on now. You don't want to really put any false, I don't like to put myself in a false, hope of where we're going to be in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because I don't want to say you're going to set yourself up for failure, but I just want to appreciate where we're going to end up through the journey that we're taking now, which obviously my journey's been a little bit different than, a lot of other drivers' journeys. It might not be as glamorous or flashy as some of these other drivers. And some people don't like that, but, this is the best we can do with the opportunity that we can make it. So I'm just humbled to be able to be in the Cup Series with a new team that's looking to become one of those name brand teams in the garage, and they put, they tap the shoulder of a no-name driver, a rookie driver, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build our program.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good perspective. I think you got a lot to be proud of. A very young driver and the top of the top tier of your sport. So 5 years is a long time away. I think you got a lot to prove in those 5 years. So we'll be rooting for you. All right, we're going to shift here. We got lighter questions now. We ran you through the ringer there, so we're going to jump into some lighter stuff. One of the big things with our show are talking about paint schemes. And so every week what we do is we give out what we call a bumper sticker award, where we would put our bumper sticker, which car we would put our bumper sticker on, our favorite paint scheme of the week. And you've actually gotten 2 of those awards this year, so congratulations. I think your Creek blue, green, gray, black scheme got one, and then the Units car too. So congrats there. But so for you, what is your favorite 00 paint scheme?
Yeah, man, Ryan Daly knocks these things out of the park. I've never worked with such a graphic designer as him, and I have a direct relationship with him. He's one of the guys I actually play around with on iRacing. He's phenomenal, and he can, it's just like right now, I send a picture of like a super late model car that you drove back years ago, and he could make it on iRacing, like identical. Like it could be a crummy picture and everything, like not even like the whole way around the car, and he can make it. It's pretty amazing. And
that's cool.
Our cars look awesome. I came from last year running half a season with premium, and we were in black cars with white numbers. So to be as flashy as we've been this year, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I enjoyed having all these sponsors come on board with us that made all this happen. And to be able to have all these different schemes. So, you know, it's hard to pick. Everyone asks that because we have so many great ones. Like, well, which one's your favorite? And it's like, it's just hard to pick because there's so many cool ones. I mean, the mane and tail one's like different with the horses on it, and then the creek colors, like you said, the creek colors look awesome together. But honestly, like we ran a trucker appreciation scheme in Richmond, and it was Ryan designed it to look like a Peterbilt paint scheme or paint job, and it looked good on camera and stuff, but man, in person, it just looked awesome. And that's one of the ones that you just had, you saw it online, but when you saw it in person, it looked even better. So that one was definitely a favorite one. And I also like the green and white car we ran, throwback scheme at Dover. I came growing up racing green race cars, so that was pretty neat too. So like I said, there's just so many. I can't believe you only give us 2 bumper stickers, though. That's pretty disappointing.
We've only been on for like 6 weeks, so you're pretty good. You're like a leader in the clubhouse right now.
I was about to say, man, Ryan does a good job.
Yeah, we'll give him a shout out for sure. That's cool. Okay, so have you noticed any other drivers' paint schemes out there you like? I mean, and for those, we don't do a video simulcast, so you've got the Jimmy Johnson One Final Time hat on. He had that special paint scheme this week with the sort of silver ally car. But anyone through this last race or this year that you've been like, wow, that was a good looking car?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I can't get past ours. I mean, I think we come with the best looking cars every week. We always have fresh paint schemes, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool throwbacks, and I think those are the coolest ones all year. When you get to the throwback season, people put on a lot of great paint schemes, and like you said, the Jimmy Johnson car this weekend, obviously he had a lot of cool paint schemes this year, but that one was pretty special. And just to be a part of all that, with Clint retiring and Jimmy retiring and Matt Kenseth probably, done full-time racing now. Those are guys I watched growing up, and just to be able to be racing against them or with them and being a part of their departure from the sport, and kind of a shift, with the younger generation coming in, Chase Elliott winning the championship, all these new talents coming in. It's just special to be a part of all that kind of transition.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's wrap up here with something I think that's important to both of us, and that's racing in Virginia. So what tracks did you grow up running in Virginia? So being from Wares Cave, was it Shenandoah Speedway, Sheeler Motor Mile, anything I'm forgetting? Where were you sort of earning your chops out in Virginia?
Yeah, so I started racing at what was called Eastside Speedway in Waynesboro, Virginia, in a go-kart at 8. The go-karts ran on Saturday mornings on the parking lot for the drag cars before the drag cars ran. So that's where I started. And then when I started racing mini cups, like you said, at Shenandoah Speedway, Motor Mile Speedway, Orange County Speedway, and those kind of cars, little kind of touring series here in Virginia and in North Carolina a little bit. Full-size stock cars are in Orange County Speedway, South Boston Speedway, which is the only one you forgot, and Motor Mile Speedway. So that's kind of where up in Virginia that I started racing. And then when I moved into supers is when it kind of just started to go everywhere, like all up and down the East Coast and into the West. So yeah, Virginia, there's nothing like a Motor Mile Speedway or Shenandoah Speedway in the mountains of Virginia. I've been to a lot of racetracks now, and honestly, Shenandoah Speedway setting is one of the best. I hate that, they never got a NASCAR sanction, and the town never really seemed too behind it. But man, it was a great facility. It really was.
Yeah. I'll let you know a little secret. I drove by Shenandoah Speedway not too long ago, and the gate was open. So I took my Silverado out on the track.
That's perfect. It's a cool little place.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's right there in the mountains. I loved it. All right. So what's your favorite track in Virginia, in Cup, late model, mini, go-kart, whatever? What is there some place you just go and like, this is special?
Man, it's hard. I mean, all of the Virginia tracks kind of have their own nostalgia to them, I love going to Martinsville growing up and watching late model stock races and being part of late model stock races at Martinsville. They're a lot more fun to watch, I feel like, than to be in. It's a very tough racetrack, very hard racing, flat. I'm more of a bank track kind of guy. and then you go over to Richmond, which I never really, that was kind of my home track on the NASCAR side of things, and never really got the handle of that place. But then we ran our butts off there this year, so it's got a little bit special, a little bit better in my heart there this year. Unfortunately, I think we only got to run there once. I kind of want to claim Bristol, honestly.
Hey, look,
it's really
fine with it. We'll put it in there, yeah.
If Bristol's in the Virginia conversation, I think that'll have to be picked. Technically Tennessee, but no, I mean, my heart's always with the short tracks. These bigger facilities are obviously great, but just like I said, to go to a motor mall speedway, just a whole different nostalgia, or Shenandoah Speedway. Those places are definitely special.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we're short track guys too, so that's great. All right, Quinn, we appreciate the time today. It's been a great conversation. I'm going to leave you with this. We spoke with John Wood from the Wood Brothers a few weeks ago, and we asked if we could be invited to the party when the Wood Brothers got their 100th win as a company. So I'm going to throw this to you. Can we get another party on the books for when you and StarCom get your first win? Can the GasNGo boys be there?
Yeah, there will. You said you're in Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there will definitely be a party that you'll know about. I don't know where it'll start, but it will end in Virginia.
It'll just be the Virginia Trails party, man. You can hit the whole
It might even end up on the 151 somewhere. I don't know.
That's funny. All right, well, Quinn, man, it's been a great conversation. We really appreciate your inside look to your rookie year and racing in Virginia and paint schemes. Hope you have a great off season, get some rest, but gear up and are ready for 2021, and we'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yep. All right, take care, man.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.